Hey, Viewsters. Really quickly, I just wanted to tell you about a really great new wine subscription service. Join the Community Wine and Spirits monthly wine club, the Mutual Satisfaction Society. You'll receive 3 carefully selected bottles every month, complete with tasting notes and detailed information on each wine, all for only $90. Join in the next 24 hours and get 20% off your first shipment. Want fancier wine than that? They got you. Join the Mutual Satisfaction Society, plus, for extra satisfaction, $150 will get you 3 very special bottles of wine. Let them take the trouble out of selecting great wines that you will love. Your first shipment is 20% off just for listening to View the Right Thing. Join the community today at www.communitywineandspirits.com or DM them at CommunityWS.
It was a tale of the epic Scottish hero that ended up with 10 Academy Award nominations, winning 5, including Best Picture. But does this 1995 story hold up after nearly 30 years? And is it possible at all to review this movie without invoking a Scottish accent? Wes and Alexis don their battle kilts and charge full speed into bloody battle with their review of the smash hit Braveheart on View the Right Thing.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of View the Right Thing. I'm Wes.
No,
go ahead.
I'm Alexis.
That's the first time you've jumped in. I didn't have to introduce you. I like it. Yeah, let's try and we'll try that for real next time.
Cool.
Hi, Alexis. How are you?
Hi, Wes. I'm pretty good.
That's
pretty good. How are you?
I'm okay. My voice is still chewed up, but
yeah.
But it's okay. It's okay. I'm feeling okay.
Okay.
Just taking the time after our last episode, come down off that Top Gun high.
Yeah.
And I can't decide if this movie depresses me or not.
I can.
You can?
I can.
Did it depress you?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes, I wept a few times.
Did you? I didn't see you cry. I heard you make noises, but I didn't see you cry. Well, all right. Well, how have you been since we've last spoken?
Oh, gosh. I've been pretty good. I took a trip out to Connecticut to see one of my really good friends.
Yeah.
It was my first time in Connecticut.
What's Connecticut like? I've never been.
Oh, it's like a green wonderland.
A green wonderland?
Oh my gosh. The trees, the nature. It's just like a ridiculous amount of trees.
What did you do while you were in Connecticut?
I went to Mystic Pizza in Mystic.
Okay.
Connecticut.
Okay.
Where the movie is based off of, and at Mystic Pizza they play Mystic Pizza
like 24/7.
On every single TV. There are a ridiculous amount of photos. I definitely now have a Mystic Pizza t-shirt.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
But mainly it was just hanging out with my friend Megan.
How was the pizza?
I couldn't have it.
Oh, because they didn't have gluten-free? Bastards.
So I had a burger.
How was the burger?
It was really delicious. It's just what I needed.
Was the burger gluten-free or did you just no bun?
No bun. Yeah.
Protein style.
Yeah. That was wonderful.
All right.
If you ever get a chance to go to Connecticut, go. It's just beautiful.
Go and maybe eat pizza or a burger.
Eat pizza. Mm-hmm.
What else is there in Connecticut besides Mystic Pizza?
I have no idea.
What a ringing endorsement. Come to Connecticut. We have no idea. Put that on the license plate.
Yep.
All right.
What about you? What have you been up to?
What have I been up to? Since last I don't know.
Are you practicing singing?
Yeah, wouldn't that be amazing?
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of anything reasonable that I've been up to that's of any note.
Okay.
Did I go somewhere? I've been to some museums lately. There's a really cool exhibit at the Skirball in California, which is it's known for. I mean, like it's the exhibition's always there, the permanent thing is that it's a Jewish heritage museum.
Oh.
Jewish American. Well, I mean, they cover other countries too, but sort of about like the immigration largely of people to the United States. They have a really cool torch, the hand and torch from the Statue of Liberty, like kind of like a life size inside, which is really cool. But the current rotating exhibit is on Maurice Sendak, and it's really cool.
Nice.
Yeah, so there's like lots of wild things, and they actually had some of the animatronic beasts from the movie.
Wow.
And they had a piece of a Macy's balloon, which I had never seen that material before.
No.
And I don't think I realized there was a book when I was a kid. I think it's called like The Little Library. It's like 3 books. And they're little tiny books. They're like, 2 inches big.
Yeah.
And it's like, I Don't Care, Pierre is in there. And Chicken Soup with Rice. And maybe something about an alligator. I can't remember. But I hadn't thought about those books since I was really young. And walking in, they had a big mural featuring a bunch of different Maurice Sendak characters.
Oh, cool.
And one of the characters was there, and I was like, it like hit me like a ton of bricks. Like this huge like wave of nostalgia hit me, and I almost cried, and it was really emotional. It was really, really cool, and learned a lot about his sort of style of art and how he created these like beautiful kind of watercolory paintings for his books. And it's mind blowing what he did, how he did it in pieces. And I didn't know he was a gay man. I didn't know that. So they kind of featured some talk. They kind of skirt around the subject a little bit, but they definitely talk about his partner. He was an avid dog lover. So dogs are featured heavily in his artwork, and there's a lot of information about this dog of his that got sick, like inspired some of his work, and it was really interesting. So
wow,
if people are listening and they can get to the Skirball Museum, go check out the Maurice Sendak exhibit. It's pretty cool.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, I mean I think it's parking is free there, and then the museum costs money, which is the opposite of the Getty, which is on the same road. The Getty is free, but the parking costs, and they're about the same.
Yeah. So
it's like $20 to park or whatever. But yeah, so check out the Skirball. It was pretty cool. I'm very happy.
Awesome.
With our visit. Outside of that, not a ton's going on. Oh, I saw Furiosa.
Ooh.
Which is cool.
Nice.
Yeah. It was neat. Violent.
I've heard such a various response from that.
Yeah.
Some people are like, it was so great. And one friend was like, I hated it.
Oh,
the CGI, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, well, I can see how people, if they were really big fans of Fury Road, they kind of went to great lengths to, like the cars are all real, and we actually, they had wire work and stuff. Obviously, they had to like paint that stuff out, but like there's no real CGI in Fury Road, or not much. In this, there's a lot of CGI in this. It's a big departure from that style. I thought it was fine. Yeah, it was good. If you had never seen Fury Road, you probably would appreciate it more, I think, or like you'd think it was better. That's my argument, at least. It doesn't change, like, in my mind, the quality of the film, but like you're definitely tainted by Fury Road because Fury Road's so good. And coming out of the theater, there was a group of people, friends, they were all talking, oh, what'd you think? And they all said the exact same thing, because they were filtering in one by one, and so they were all getting asked the same question and then having the same answer, which was, it's not as good as Fury Road.
Oh.
So so I think, if you can separate it a little bit from Fury Road, you'll probably enjoy it a little bit more. It's weird to say that because it's clearly like it's a prequel, so it's leading to Fury Road.
Right.
But it's trying to be its own story.
I see. And is Chris Hemsworth? It's Chris Hemsworth,
Yeah.
right? Is his character essentially the original Mel Gibson character?
No.
Okay.
No. This is still, this spans like, I don't know, 15 years or something.
Mm-hmm.
But it still would be, I guess it would have started maybe during one of the Mel Gibson movies. But by the end of it, he would be old. It would be definitely after.
Okay.
This is probably, by the end of it, probably like 20-something years after the Mel Gibson film.
Gotcha. I see. I was trying to figure out why he had a prosthetic nose.
Yeah, no,
I
he's
was
not.
like,
He's not.
that
Max.
would make sense to me.
No, he's Chris Hemsworth's the villain of the movie, which is like a really cool turn for him as an actor.
Yeah.
He is absolutely great. He's the reason to see this movie. He drives the thing. He's fun to watch. He's unhinged. He's great in it.
Amazing.
Yeah, better than Anya Taylor-Joy.
Oh,
She's fine.
nice.
She's no Charlize. But
It's hard shoes to fill.
yeah, well, the person I was with said that her criticism of Anya Taylor-Joy was that she seems fragile, and granted, this is a movie sort of about how she becomes who she is in Fury Road, but it doesn't feel, I don't know, it doesn't feel, I don't know if you really buy that she ever gets there.
Oh, I see.
But I enjoyed the movie. It was fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I just saw League of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
Yeah. Also violent.
So violent.
Yay.
But I liked it
Yeah.
because
Because of your insatiable lust for blood.
yes. Me, the person who I can't watch the oh my gosh, that new TV show with Walton Goggins.
Oh, Fallout.
I can't watch Fallout. It's too violent.
Oh, that's good.
But I can watch League of Ungentlemanly Warfare because they're all killing Nazis.
Oh, yeah, so it's okay.
Yes, and they're kind of doing it in a comedic manner
Yeah.
because it's like, haha,
Yeah.
die Nazis, die, and so like I'm surprisingly okay with it. I watched the entire thing. I didn't have to cover my eyes, but also they're not like, it's not gratuitous in the sense that like you're not seeing specifically like what they're doing. It's more like you're seeing it from a different vantage point. So it's not like first person smash blood everywhere. It's like you're seeing their reaction of, yeah, I just killed you.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was really fantastic. And that guy from Reacher is in it.
Yeah.
He's fantastic.
I like him. Alan Richardson.
Alan Richardson.
Yeah.
He's great. And is it Henry Cavill?
Henry Cavill? Yeah, Henry Cavill continues to impress me. Although, I think I recently saw that he used to date, what's her name? Gina Carano?
Oh.
Which I thought was, I was like, oh.
You
is
can't help who you date.
Well,
Sometimes
but now,
you date the wrong person.
But it makes me wonder, is Henry Cavill,
No.
he's not a,
No, I've dated some
Right-wing.
shitty people.
okay. I just don't want to be a right-wing, like, trans hater or something,
No. It's kind of like,
Please, Henry, no.
sometimes you just, Henry Cavill, please don't be a bad person.
If you're listening to this, Henry. I know you're not, but
We believe in you.
yeah.
Come to the light side.
I love him. I can't wait to see him inevitably be in Marvel. So yeah.
Nice.
He seems like a good dude.
He does, doesn't he?
Yeah. What I've heard some stories about him. I know we're just all over the map today. I've heard some stories about him on Enola Holmes.
Oh.
Because he plays Sherlock Holmes in that.
Oh.
And
It's with Millie Bobby Brown, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like he just immediately was like drawing lines between like what their relationship could be. It's like this is a work thing. This is like we keep it, there is a distance we have to keep, even though we can be, we're gonna get close, but we have a line. Like I don't know, he just seems like he's like really smart and
Like a good person?
unlike that Drake guy.
Yeah. Screw that guy. Not really. No.
Unlike
Aubrey.
Unlike that Mel Gibson guy who we'll talk about in a bit.
Oh.
Yeah.
Speaking of Mel Gibson.
Yeah. Should we talk about this movie?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fine. So we watched Braveheart.
We watched Braveheart. Was it 3 hours and 58 minutes? 2 hours and 58 minutes.
Yeah, it was almost 3 hours.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what was Braveheart about?
Braveheart. It's a Scottish warrior, William Wallace, leads his countrymen in a rebellion to free his homeland from the tyranny of King Edward I of England.
That's true. Well, I mean, that is a true synopsis of this movie.
Yes.
This movie's nominated for 10 Academy Awards. It won 5 of them, I believe. It won makeup, sound effects, editing, cinematography, director, and picture. And it was the only... I don't think it was even nominated for picture for any other major awards.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was cinematically beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
It was
Gorgeous.
stunning. It was very interesting to, at the beginning when they're showing it was filmed in Scotland, yes?
Ireland.
Odd.
I think there was maybe a little bit in Scotland, but like maybe his like little hometown, which wasn't really his hometown, was filmed in Scotland, but I think like days of it were in Scotland, whereas a lot of it was filmed in almost I think almost all of it was filmed in Ireland.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Because I was going to be like, oh, did you know that the hills of Scotland are also the same hills of Appalachia?
Oh, no, I didn't.
When there was Pangea.
Oh.
That Scotland and West Virginia
Cool.
were part of the same thing. Well, ignore that then.
Yeah.
That's just a fun tidbit. But
Maybe the hills of Ireland. I don't know.
Right, the hills of Ireland. I found it interesting that when they were panning at the beginning, showing all the beautiful landscape, I'm like, that's a helicopter. It's so different now when we have the drones.
Yeah.
It's a smoother transition on a drone. But it was nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Helicopters can go higher, though. They can do more. I don't know. Justice for helicopters.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this movie is directed by and stars Mel Gibson. He wasn't originally going to star in it.
What?
Yeah. I think it was... Who's the guy from Speed 2? Patrick something. Jason Patrick.
What?
Yeah, I think Jason Patrick was originally like supposed to be William Wallace.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyways. Mel Gibson, should we just like rip the Band-Aid off of that?
Do it.
Mel Gibson's a terrible person. There's no such thing as cancel culture. If there was, he wouldn't be working right now. You can, I would say it's arguable that he's maybe the first like person to get canceled. I feel like it was pretty early on in the cancel culture. But obviously that's not real because these people keep working anyways. So he's a racist, a misogynist, an anti-Semite, very homophobic.
Yeah.
Which we see a little bit of in this film. We can talk about that in a minute.
Oh my God. You're right.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it's okay to view the film and it be tainted. It's okay to have that feeling, people. I think there's like this weird, discussion or confusion about, you got to separate the art from the artist or whatever. And like, you don't have to. You don't. You can be like, yeah, I would enjoy this more if there wasn't in it somebody who was anti-Semitic in it, and still like appreciate what everybody else is doing and appreciate the cinematography. Some might argue that's separating the art from the artist, but I don't know. I don't think it is. Yeah. It's okay to have those like conflicted things going on. So I don't know. And if you choose to not want to watch it, that's okay too. That's okay. I generally don't watch Mel Gibson stuff anymore. I probably wouldn't watch this again had this not come up in our in our bucket.
Yeah.
But I don't know. How do you feel about all that?
It is hard to like differentiate between the performer and the performance because I know who he is as a person. But I just kind of have to pretend like I don't know who he is.
Yeah.
In order to quote unquote enjoy this movie.
Yeah.
It is beautiful, but it's very, very hard to watch.
Yeah.
Because of the content.
Yeah.
Because it's heartbreaking.
It's heartbreaking. It's violent.
Yeah.
Blech. Blech.
It's heartbreaking. It's violent. And I'm going to say for the most part, and you can correct me, but for the most part, all of that stuff happened. Murder
happened. I mean, murder always happens.
Murder always happens. It felt like, you just look at someone the wrong way and you can get thrown out the window.
Oh, sure.
And the fact that people used to go to public murders.
Oh, and watch that and enjoy it. And
yeah.
Well, there's a weird thing that still happens today. It's like people celebrating the death of Osama bin Laden, right? Like that's I mean, you can be conflicted about that a little bit. I think like there's one thing, one side of like removing somebody who does terrible things from the equation and celebrating how they're removed. I think it can be two very different things.
Yeah.
But in some ways we still do that,
Yeah. I
Yeah.
hadn't really considered that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So I didn't get to ask this question. Did you enjoy the film?
Yes.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
Yeah. It's almost a begrudgingly because, I don't know, it took me almost years to finish this movie.
Yeah.
Because I watched the first 2 hours when I was, I think, a junior in high school.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago. And
it was a conveniently timed leaf blower outside.
Nice. So I was almost okay with like, well, I'll just never know how it ends. I know that he dies at the end, so done. Spoiler alert.
It's like, oh, I don't need to see Titanic. I know how it ends.
The boat sinks.
Spoilers for Titanic. Sorry, we haven't covered Titanic yet on our show.
Whoops. But it was really beautiful. All of the performers were so fantastic.
Yeah, Brendan Gleeson.
Thank you.
So good.
I thought he looked familiar.
Yeah.
But he is such a young face there.
Yeah. Wish we would have got more Brian Cox.
I know. That was a fun surprise for me.
Yeah.
And whomever played William's father.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
I don't either. And he, like, for the small part that he had, he really made an impression on me. Just like the way that he spoke to his son was so beautiful. Like the last thing that he says to his son is, "It's our wits that make us men." And I thought that was so beautiful.
Well, and it really sets up the relationship that he's going to have with his uncle, which we don't get to see much of. But when he comes back and he's like educated and he can read and
right,
yeah, it really
speak multiple languages.
Yeah.
It's interesting that they kind of, I'm going to say that Mel chose to skip over his formative years.
Yeah, I mean, it's a long movie and...
yes.
You got to get to that sweet, sweet homophobia and...
murder.
Violence.
Homophobia and murder.
I'm harping on the homophobia thing, but like, it's not like the whole movie or anything. It's fairly... easy to kind of like gloss over it and not really catch it. Although GLAAD, the organization GLAAD, definitely caught it and had a sit down with Mr. Gibson.
Really?
Yeah.
When this movie came out, or after the fact?
After the fact, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, after the movie had come out. But,
yeah.
But yeah, so I guess we could address it.
Sure.
So the movie is just full of inaccuracies. So people, I know a lot of people who've watched this movie and just is like, this is fact, this is what happened. And the truth is that there's not a lot of record for William Wallace. We know some things, but we don't know a ton. We certainly don't know his speeches or what he might have said to people to rouse people. It's all, this movie is just like, this gives me goosebumps. I mean, that's literally what the writer said. This gave me goosebumps, so that's what we went with. So to get to the homophobia thing, the son of King Edward, Edward the Longshanks, who was really tall, which is why they call him Longshanks, is and was gay. They, for whatever reason, felt they needed to tell that story in this movie. Edward was a child during all of this, so they aged him up in order to show the homophobia, or to show the homosexual stuff, and murder his lover.
Wow.
It's like, what's the point of that? Along with that, Princess Isabel, I think Isabel,
so.
was not dispatched to Scotland. She was 8. So, yeah. So there's a lot of liberties this movie takes.
So please, for the love of God, tell me that she didn't actually have sex with William and
no, she never. I don't think she ever met him. She was 8. She never went to Scotland.
I mean, thank God.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, this 8-year-old got pregnant from William Wallace.
Yeah, I think like a good chunk of this movie, like she wasn't even born or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's because this movie takes place over like 30 years or something.
Yeah,
or 40 years or something like that. So yeah, there's a lot of liberties they took to tell the story because they wanted to just tell. I mean, they told an entertaining story.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, but it's not accurate. So if anybody watched this movie and they think this is what happened, it's not what happened.
Wow.
For example, they go to great lengths to talk about this commoner, William Wallace, the leader of the farmers or whatever. Yeah, his father was a noble.
So they didn't live in a mud hut?
I don't believe so.
Wow.
The father and brother did not go off to fight in war. Yeah, I mean, the nobles didn't do that. So
yeah, you send the commoners to do that.
In fairness, they were a minor noble, but yeah. So the whole crisis, it like the whole England versus Scotland thing didn't really reach its thing until William was 22 years old. So this idea that his father and brother went off to go fight for their freedom or whatever. Mm-hmm. Freedom also, the idea of personal freedom wasn't a thing in the 1300s. So that's also a very, in some ways, a lot, now that we know a lot about Mel Gibson and sort of his right-wing tendencies and things, and this freedom, patriotism, this movie's a little tainted for me from that perspective, because I'm watching it going, every time they say freedom, all I can think of is we're gonna change the name to Freedom Fries,
God.
So yeah, so there's a lot of these prima nocta also never was a thing in England. It's never been a thing anywhere in the world. Yeah, you're blown away by this, right? This inciting,
my mouth is agape.
The inciting incident is not something that actually has ever happened. It's a bad way to to get people to follow you.
That's messed up.
Right? It would be a bad way to like get your follower, your people below you to follow your lead.
Yeah.
So it's never been a thing.
That's so ridiculous.
There's no like record of it. Like anywhere. Not just in England or Scotland. There's no record of it anywhere.
Because no one is that sick.
Because no one is that sick, and they know that it's bad form to like get your people to follow you.
Yeah.
No one's going to support you.
They just really took liberties with this.
Oh yeah. They took a lot of liberties with this.
Because did I read that it was like they wrote the story from a poem?
So there's a poem.
It was like inspired by.
So the writer Randall Wallace. Sorry, I was looking for his first name. Wallace. Randall Wallace was on a trip to Scotland. Learned of this relative, William Wallace, didn't know anything about him, started digging into it and decided to write this screenplay, the story about him. And there is some information about him, but like they they made up a lot of stuff and they stole some things, right? Like let's talk about some of your notes and we'll come back to some more of these inaccuracies as they pop up. Because I want to hear from you a little bit and like discuss some of your things.
Well, knowing that so much of this wasn't true,
is buckle up.
I'm just on a roller coaster over here.
Yeah.
I mean, I wrote that it's so odd that there was a noble right to sleep with newlywed women. Well, that wasn't real, so good.
Sorry that burst your bubble there.
No, that's great. I'm very glad that didn't actually happen because I was really worried for society in the 1300s. Going back to his uncle, Brian Cox, something that I wrote down was, first you need to learn to use this, and he tapped on his head, and then I'll teach you to use this, which is a sword. So
the big ass sword.
Yes, big sword. But I appreciated that it was like, use your mind. Your mind is more powerful than the sword. Yeah. But then I didn't really see that play out much. It was more like sword.
Well, I'd argue there's a couple things.
Okay.
So let's think about some of the battles here. So the Battle of Stirling was the first one. So the idea that like, let them see you leave, they'll think you're retreating, and they'll come around the back of them. Oiling the fields.
Oh yeah.
At Falkirk. I feel like there was a few other things that brought. The big long spears.
Yeah. And
waiting for the horses. Like I feel like there was definitely moments of like deviating from stand in a line and wait to get killed.
Right.
Versus like, here's some strategy.
True. And I guess, are we meant to believe that William is the only one who thought of all of those things?
Well, William is actually not the guy who thought of those things. So,
go on. Please tell me more.
I gotta figure out his name. Talk about some other things.
Astonishing. Well, I was gonna say that huge fight before William became knighted was very emotional. I found myself like, that's one of the first times that I began to weep, was because all of these people, all of these men are just fighting for what? It seemed like such a ridiculous thing to lose your life for and to fight for. So even though I'm sure it didn't actually happen like that, it still made me very sad to think there are so many people who, I'm a pacifist, so there are so many people who go to war and they'll murder other people because someone said, they did something bad. Yeah. And I think life is a little more precious than that.
Yeah. I agree. Andrew de Moray, who led a rebellion in the Northeast and then eventually met up with Wallace, was sort of really the guy who's sort of viewed as the strategist of the group. And he was close. I think became close friends with William Wallace. And in the film, the Hamish character, I think, sort of takes on that friendship role. We don't know that there was ever a Hamish, so that may not have been a real guy.
Is Hamish the Irish guy who talked to God?
No, Hamish is the Brendan Gleeson's character.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So William was not the strategist. William also was not Braveheart in real life.
What?
We'll get to this. Tell me some more of your notes. We'll get to that.
More of my notes.
What a tease.
Robert the Bruce rubbed me the wrong way.
I love that you brought up Robert the Bruce. Okay, tell me about Robert the Bruce.
He kind of seemed like he was just a wishy-washy dude.
Wishy-washy, yeah, absolutely.
And it wasn't until he got embarrassed that he was like, well, we need to stand behind him and we need to be honorable and all this. It's like, no, you just got embarrassed, and so now you have your tail between your legs and you're like, well, I want to be the big guy.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Robert the Bruce.
Go ahead.
So a lot of Scottish people were pretty upset with their portrayal of Robert the Bruce because Robert the Bruce is a hero in Scotland. Robert the Bruce did not betray William Wallace. Her face right now is pretty great. The closest to betrayal that Robert the Bruce came to was that he abstained. He chose to not get involved in some of these fights.
Okay.
But he was a fighter. He did lead Scotland, and he is considered to be a folk hero, kind of in the way that William Wallace is in this film. Robert the Bruce is actually Braveheart in real life. I know I'm like wrecking your world right
just
now.
Broken my brain.
Yeah. So
wow.
Robert the Bruce basically told his friend that when he died, he is like, take my heart out there, take my heart on a tour. And he literally did that. He was a man of his word, and he took his heart, put it in a little casket, and like took it around and like roused the crowd and like rallied people. And they're during one of the battles where basically they were like outnumbered, they weren't going to win this thing. They like took this heart in the casket and they like sent it toward the enemy. And I believe the quote is, and his name is James Douglas, by the way, his friend.
Okay.
Onward, Braveheart.
Wow.
Yeah.
Pause there.
Yeah.
So they just took his heart and threw it at the other people.
I think it was like in like a thing, like in a box. I think they I don't know if they like rolled it down the hill or how, like if it was on wheels or what, but I don't know. I wasn't there. I'm sorry. That's just my understanding is that they threw it at the enemy. I don't know exactly what threw it at the enemy. They could have catapulted it for all I know.
Right.
Wow. But I think it was. I think that the whole thing is onward, Braveheart. Douglas shall follow thee or die.
Wow.
So William Wallace, not Braveheart. Robert the Bruce, actually Braveheart.
And was Robert the Bruce the King of Scotland?
Yeah, I think he was. I think I don't know. I'm not, surprise everybody. I am not a scholar in Scottish history.
Okay.
So I don't know.
Apparently neither was the author of this film.
No. No.
Wow.
What else you got there for me?
It's about the supposed gay lover that didn't actually exist.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he may have had a gay lover,
but not when he was.
Not at this time.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
The fact that, was he the Prince of England? Is that essentially
he would have been
who
the
he was?
Prince. Yeah.
The Prince.
The Prince of Wales.
Oh, right. Interesting.
Yeah.
So the Prince of Wales appoints his quote-unquote lover and to be his military like guidance person.
Yeah. I forgot what he calls him, but yeah.
And because his father disagrees, he just throws him out the window.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's like multiple things going on in this scene.
Yes.
You know, definitely he doesn't like that he sees his son's homosexuality as like this like
weakness.
It's a weakness, it's a thing getting in the way of the bloodline. And you see that when he gets married that the king notices the son's proclivity toward this man.
Right.
So there's that. There's also, they just have suffered a pretty massive loss.
Yeah.
His nephew has been beheaded and sent to them. And this guy who he doesn't know really, who's probably never spoken to him ever in his life, is like deigns to speak to the king all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So I think there's multiple things going on there. I don't think the scene itself was about homophobia, so much as it the inclusion of the scene is homophobic.
Right.
The inclusion of needing to like age up the son for this homosexual drama, to like act out violence against homosexuals that's the problem.
And is there any historical documentation saying that the prince was femme, I guess, for lack of a better...
I think the prince was gay. I think,
but there is a difference between a femme gay and a masculine
the portrayal
gay.
Of him.
They portrayed him to be so like, ooh.
Yeah, I think like...
a wisp of a thing. And
I don't know, and I don't know, like... I guess my context to this is, at least through film, is that you wouldn't know that they were... like, it wasn't a secret, right? Like, it was so much to the point that the public knew that they said that if the king wanted a son, he'd have to do the deed himself, right? And so, if the public knew, it had to be really, really obvious, not just like murmurs.
Okay.
So, you know, I don't know if that means that he would have to be effeminate. Is that what people knew?
Yeah.
Or what? But that's how they chose to.
I felt like they really tarted up the prince.
Yeah.
Like
they did.
Put some like rosy lips and a little bit
makeup.
of blush.
Yeah.
And
he's very foppish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And disappointing.
Some of that is, you know, it's disappointing that like they chose that, like this guy was known to be a weak ruler, and that they chose to show that most glaringly via his homosexuality.
Yeah,
like he was weak because he was gay,
right? Not
because he was just a weakling. Like some people are just weaklings. Some people are just weak-willed.
Yeah.
And Isabel didn't like him in real life, and she did overthrow him.
She did?
Yeah. King Edward III, her son, she favored him.
Oh.
Yeah.
I see. Well, good for Isabel.
Yeah.
But
good for Isabel.
King Edward III, was that his son? Did they actually create a son together?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
I gotta be honest with you.
It's okay.
It'll just be...
You don't have all of the information just at your fingertips?
I'm sorry. Oh, they changed William's wife's name too.
They did?
Yeah, her name was really Marian.
Oh.
And they were worried people would get confused with Robin Hood. So
the moment you said Marian, I'm like, people are gonna think Maid Marian.
So they changed it to Marin.
People aren't that stupid. Are they?
I don't think so, but I mean, he never picks up a bow and arrow in this movie.
Huh.
People have bow and arrows in this movie.
Yeah.
He never picks one up. He has that stupid sword, which is cool looking on a wall, I bet. But
sure.
He would not have had that sword in battle.
No.
It's too big.
And wouldn't they have been much heavier?
Well, yeah, I mean, heavy sword's fine. You could have that like in contests, an open area, but in close combat, like he'd never be able to swing it.
Yeah.
He'd never be able to swing the sword.
Yeah.
So he William Wallace did not have that sword in battle. Sorry, folks. It looks great on your wall, though. It looks great on your wall. What else you got there?
I have. Well, I wrote down the word savage because savage was used, and I said they were only savages because there was no other option. And who really was the savage in this film? I'm not saying in reality because this film is far from reality, but they're calling the Scots savages. Well, I think in this film, the English were the real savages. They just had a nice garb on that didn't make someone else feel uneasy. Well,
the garb is interesting. You bring that up. Seamstress friend. So the armies, England would not have had matching uniforms. They would not have looked like that. So it's interesting you bring up the garb and stuff. There's a lot of other inaccuracies that I learned about. For example, Marion, her shroud and stuff that she wears to get married.
Yes.
Yeah, they wouldn't have had those kind of fabrics. They wouldn't have had silks and stuff. So.
Yeah, I didn't. Well, unless he was a nobleman.
Yes, but this version of that character would not have had that.
True.
They also didn't have spinning jennies.
What's a spinning jenny?
It helps them create the it's not a loom exactly, but it's like a spinning wheel. Mm-hmm. They didn't have the looms, so her outfit. There's a whole thing with the tartan too. I don't know enough about this to really get into it, but my understanding is at least the type of kilt, the tartan colors that they wear, did not exist at that time. So, they may have existed, but they weren't a thing at that time. So,
right. Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
I noted those things for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I figured.
Yeah.
I was like, some of this doesn't seem like it's historically accurate. There were certain things that I saw. I'm like, that might not have been created that way.
Yeah.
Some of their armor.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot. It's amazing when you sit down and talk about it, how much of this film could not have happened, did not happen, is just pure imagination.
Wow.
What else you got? You got anything?
I have. Oh, I wrote about Falkirk.
Yeah.
And how incredible it was that they were throwing tar around the field.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, there's going to be fire later.
It was nice to kind of watch this through your eyes, especially that last hour. Mm-hmm. Hearing you react to things. You were reacting to things you were surprised by the guy getting thrown out the window.
Yes.
Which presumably you may have seen.
Possibly.
But,
I was in high school and we were talking on the bus.
So basically it was like watching you watch this for the first time, which is fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I was definitely reactive when something would happen that I was not expecting, especially when was it at Falkirk when it was at Falkirk when Robert the Bruce was
betrayed him. Well, in this movie.
Yeah, in this story, when he betrayed him, I was shocked.
Yeah. When he pulled the helmet off.
Oh my God. But then he still saved his life.
Yes, he still saved his life.
It's interesting. But from that from Falkirk, when the king's messenger, who's the jerk that's telling everyone to do everything? Is that the king?
The king was there. Yeah.
Okay, so the king
and the king King Edward did lead the Battle of Falkirk.
Okay, so that part is accurate.
Yes, he was a brilliant strategist.
Well, the fact that he said they wanted to send the arrows in first, and he's like, no, arrows cost money. Send in the Irish; they're free.
Yeah.
Just some lives.
Yeah, it's like Thanos in Endgame. Fire the cannons. Sorry, I can always bring it back to Marvel.
Yes, you can.
So King Edward learned a lot about strategy, fighting in battles in the Middle East. I don't know. It's like the 8th and 9th century, or 8th and 9th Crusades.
Okay, I was like, century? How old is this guy?
Wrong word. Crusades.
Wow.
Yeah, he's super old. Long shanks. Yeah, so he learned a lot, like fighting I think they're called like the Mamelukes.
Okay.
I don't know how you say it, but they're Muslim.
Wow.
There's a whole Muslim war thing. Yeah.
Were these? The answer is probably going to be yes, but were all these crusades just about religion?
Yeah.
Jesus. Great.
Yeah.
You don't believe what I believe, so you must die.
I mean, it's all these. I was going to say something. You were talking about the
Yes.
savage thing earlier. We still do this today, where we not necessarily call people savages, but like the colloquial American thing is thug, right? We have like the people in power or a certain group in power who actually are acting thuggish, calling people who are poor, or have less access to education, and certainly less power, the thugs.
Yeah.
So, sorry, I just wanted to bring that up.
No,
but
it's very true.
It's all cyclical, and it all sort of reflects today.
Mm-hmm. I felt it to be timely.
Yeah.
In that respect.
Yeah.
The only other thing I have here is purification.
Oh, yeah.
That if you just want to, basically take back everything that you believe in and everything that you have fought for and say, okay, give me mercy, and then you can just die very quickly. But if you don't, it's going to be really, really horrible and really painful. And that just doesn't make sense to me whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like, why is someone purified by being quartered? And
I'm glad you asked that question.
Mm-hmm.
So the purification wasn't the hanging and it wasn't the quartering. How did they purify people back then? How did they purify heretics back in the old timey times?
I don't know.
Think witches.
Drown them? Burn them?
Purification through fire. So what they actually did with William Wallace, and what they kind of left out of the movie, is they removed his entrails while he was alive and burned them while he was alive.
What?
They forced him to watch them burn his own entrails. And then after he died, they beheaded him.
Yes.
They did send his head around, and they did put it up on the London Bridge.
Yeah.
And then they did draw and quarter him.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
I just... who put it in their minds that...
Purification through
Yes.
fire? Yeah, I mean, that was, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's the truth. I can make a guess,
Yeah.
right? So this is a guess. I don't know. Just specify, just clarifying here.
Mm-hmm.
That they used fire for a lot of purification. For, like, we see it earlier in the film. Hamish's dad gets shot with an arrow, and they use a hot poker to, like, cauterize the wound and to burn away any, like, bacteria and stuff. Mm-hmm. So he doesn't, like, get gangrenous and have to lose an arm or whatever.
Yeah.
So for a long time, but they also thought leeches, right?
This is true.
But yeah, for a long time they've used fire to purify things. We still do that, right? We boil water to purify things. So yeah.
That's it. It was. I just can't. I just can't comprehend that.
Yeah. So my favorite battle in the movie is Sterling, which is the first big battle.
Yeah.
When you get to see Wang and Butts. Wang and Butts.
Yep.
That
was very amusing.
That took roughly 500,000 feet of film. They shot over 90 hours of footage for that.
Of Wangs and Butts?
Not of Wings and Butts, but that Wings and Butts were included.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot. And they, a lot of people don't know, they used mechanical horses for a lot of violent horse things. My favorite reaction of yours was when the horse goes into the water and you're like, did the horse die? That was one of the many mechanical horses.
Oh my God.
Which is why the horse doesn't move once it's in the air and doesn't move once it hits the water.
Yes. It looked like a very realistic horse, and I was very nervous. Like, but the horse, I guess a horse falling from that high into water probably wouldn't survive.
Probably wouldn't. No.
Yeah, there was a lot of horse mutilation, which I was just holding it all in. I'm like, oh my God.
I mean, they definitely used real horses carefully, I'm sure.
Hopefully.
I've not heard of any horse deaths from this, but who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, they used they put fake horses on hydraulics on rails.
Oh.
And they had people ride those for a lot of shots. I think especially the close-ups where you can't see their legs.
Yeah.
Or like horses like falling over. Some of those are fake horses.
Oh, good.
So, there was a whole thing where like Mel Gibson was like, if you can spot and correctly point out a fake horse in this film, I'll give you $5. And supposedly nobody ever did. Or at least took him up on it. Because that horse that falls out into the water was definitely a fake horse.
Yeah.
But yeah, so fake horses, yay.
Okay.
I've never gone through and looked. I've heard you can see scenes where people are wearing wristwatches on accident. A lot of extras in this film, so it's a lot to keep up with.
A lot of extras. Well, there was in the death scene, in his death scene.
Yeah.
There was one of the town folk who did a salute.
Yeah.
And I was like, uh-oh. Like, the salute.
Oh, did
Yeah.
In fairness, not to the Nazis, but in fairness to the film, that has been around for a long time.
Oh.
And my understanding, feel free to send me angry letters if I'm wrong, but my understanding is the original way we pledged allegiance to the flag was the same salute. But then we needed to separate ourselves from the Nazis, so we started putting our hands over our hearts.
Wow.
Yeah, that's been around for a long time.
Huh.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Now, I don't know if somebody suggested they do that or they did it for that reason. It could be that they're just a-holes.
Yeah.
And as we know, Mel Gibson, generational Holocaust denier.
Wow.
Yeah.
Generational?
Yeah, so he grew up, learning that,
that the Holocaust wasn't real?
That it wasn't real. That didn't happen. I don't really know the ins and outs of Holocaust denying. I don't know how that works. If it's just like a flat...
I don't either.
Like, I don't know if it's just like a flat, like, oh, this didn't happen, or if it's like, oh, yeah, a thing happened, but like 2,000 people died, not 6 million. Like, I don't know how Holocaust denying works. Because I don't deny the Holocaust. It happened, folks.
No.
Deal with it.
Yes, it happened.
We have to deal with it. You have to deal with it.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah. Wow, this has been a roller coaster ride, this episode.
It sure has.
Yeah, you just blew your mind with all this inaccuracies, and then we've got the Mel Gibson sugar tits of it all, and for those that don't know, he called a woman police officer sugar tits one time.
Oh.
You didn't know that?
No.
Oh, okay, yeah. So you just thought I was just saying sugar tits.
What a class act.
Yeah. No, so among the things that Mel Gibson has done, he beat up his wife.
Yeah.
And was recorded telling her that he hoped a bunch of N-words rape her because she deserves it and asks for it.
Oh my God.
So you got domestic violence, misogyny, and racism all in one little package. He blames the Jews for killing Christ. Christ was a Jew. He once asked a gay person if he could get AIDS just from talking to them at a party.
Wow. I am by no means defending him.
Oh, here comes the defense of Mel Gibson.
I am not. But was this in the early 80s?
No.
Okay. No,
No.
The only reason I ask is because when I was 3, we went to New York and I just wanted to kiss all of the cab drivers because I thought it was so sweet that they were driving us around.
Yeah.
And my mom was like, don't do that. Don't do that. And I learned later it was because they didn't know how exactly AIDS was transferred. And they didn't know yet if it was transferable through saliva or...
Right. So bodily fluid is a factor. But you cannot get it from, and clarifying, I know you know, I'm clarifying that I know for the people listening, that you cannot get it from kissing somebody. So the misconception in the 80s of can you get it through kissing because, you know, they understood sex and they understood bodily fluids. So I can sort of like give that a little bit of a pass. Talking to somebody, having a conversation with somebody at a party is very, very different, and he knows better. So
he was just being an asshole.
He's just an asshole. He's just an asshole. And I don't watch anything Mel Gibson now. Like I really wanted to watch The Continental, which is a prequel, I think, to the John Wick films. There's a TV series on Peacock. And I really wanted to watch it. I was really excited for it. And then right when it came out, I was like, I found out Mel Gibson was cast in it. And I was like, yeah, I guess I'm not watching it.
Yeah.
I just choose not to. It might be good, but I'm just going to choose to not engage.
There are millions of other things you can watch.
I'm behind on so many shows already.
Catch up on those.
I haven't watched Bridgerton season 3 yet. Have you?
I've never watched it.
Oh, you would love it.
I've heard that the costumes are not...
Oh, so maybe you would be like, like rocking in your seat, like not okay.
I've heard that they use fabrics that
I think it's okay.
Appropriate.
I'll tell you why I think it's okay. So the Bridgerton takes place in the late. Okay, welcome to Bridgerton talk. Well,
let's talk about anything but Mel Gibson.
Welcome to a man talking about a show really designed for women. So it takes place in the late 1800s. I think it's probably largely okay.
Okay.
But, whoa, that's a big but there. All my Mariner fans, Cal Raleigh, woo. But the show uses a lot of like modern sensibilities and stylistic choices intentionally. So there's a lot of modern music in it, but it's played in the old-timey time style, like a classical style.
Interesting.
So you're going to hear Lana Del Rey, you're going to hear Billie Eilish, but you're not going to hear the lyrics, but you're going to hear Bad Guy, but you're going to hear Bad Guy played in a classical style. So stylistically, I think they choose to do that. Also, Queen Charlotte is black. So, and there's like a lot of like, there's a larger black cast than you would expect to see in something like this.
That's great.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. I think they in a similar way of like Moulin Rouge, like you sort of like let go some of the like preconceived notions of what should be because they're like singing Nirvana. So it's similar to, in that aspect. And the show's like, it's the perfect melodrama. Like it's like exactly what you want. It's like sexy and funny, and you can root for the characters. And there's like first season especially, there's a good twist.
Nice. So maybe this is a show that Jeff and I can watch together.
Yeah. So I was really hesitant to watch it.
Yeah. And
then I knew Desi wanted to, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to put it on because I know she wants to. This must have been during the pandemic, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
And I was like, I know she wants to watch this show. I don't want to deprive her from it. And she watches stuff for me all the time. Like she always enjoys the stuff that I like, but I could suffer through a couple episodes of Bridgerton. And then I watched it. I was like immediately hooked. It was really good. It's a solid show. A+. Would watch again.
Well, Jeff and I need a new melodrama because he got obsessed with a reality show that we have watched all 11 seasons of.
Oh my God, 11 seasons. Vanderpump.
Yes.
I knew it. How did I know it?
Because it has just, like, the final episode of season 11 just aired.
Oh, okay.
Maybe like 2 days ago. It's very topical. He became obsessed.
The Lisa Vanderpump?
Lisa Vanderpump.
She's on a new Gordon Ramsay show.
Yes, and she's on Vanderpump Villa. She has her hand in lots of pots.
Welcome to TV Talk.
Yay!
We switched to TV. Look, I don't think we have much else to say about Braveheart,
No.
but we'll wrap it up here in a second.
Yeah.
But we'll talk TV for a minute.
But I have been longing for a show that has actors, because we have we started watching Vanderpump 2 months ago.
Yeah. Oh,
11
that's a lot.
seasons.
That's a lot.
There are like 16 episodes per season.
Yeah.
And then there's the recaps and the...
Yeah, that's a lot.
I'm really okay to just like let it go.
I got some TV recommendations for
Please.
you. All right, listeners.
Yes.
Listen up. I'll tell you my favorite currently running show.
Great.
That I do not let an episode go by. You know, I'll let a lot of things build up, and like, oh, we've got like right now, I've got like the last 5 episodes of The Rookie to watch. I'm like I love the show. I love Nathan Fillion. I think the actors are great on it. I like a good like law drama.
Yeah.
But it's not one I just am like, I can't let it build up. Chicago Fire. Cannot let that show build up.
You love that show.
I love Chicago Fire. I went to the Chicago Fire house when I was in Chicago to visit, and the firefighters like took me around and like gave me a tour. It was like really sweet, and I bought a shirt. I have a Chicago Fire shirt. Yeah, I love that show. It's great because it's got action. It's compelling melodrama, like, you know, story of the week, but there's some arcs. They don't let an arc go for too long. Like you get, you know, like an annoying character shows up and they're causing problems. 5 episodes and that thing's done. Nice. It's not going to last 2 seasons. It's going to be like, we're going to move on to a new thing. Everybody on that show's pretty. Everybody on that show's pretty. So it's like, it's fun. It's a fun watch.
Yeah.
So I recommend Chicago Fire.
Awesome.
Show that's not on anymore that I really loved is a show. It's on Netflix now. It's called New Amsterdam.
Oh.
It's a medical drama. It ran for 4 or 5 seasons.
Nice.
I was heartbroken when I think it was 4. Heartbroken when they said they were ending it. It's I love medical drama. So medical dramas, like first responders, so medical law, police, lawyers, that kind of thing. I'm really into that. So I'll watch, like, you know, I watched The Resident, I watched The Good Doctor, I watched House, I watched, you know, ER was one of my favorite shows of all time. But New Amsterdam is different in that it will leave you with a sense of hope. It will leave you feeling good about yourself, and maybe the world isn't so bad, and that maybe like all the world needs is like some positivity and somebody to just say, how can I help you? That's
beautiful. That's
the mantra of the show, is how can I help?
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, so I highly recommend New Amsterdam, because it's good, like procedural, like what's the disease of the week or whatever, right? But there's some nice heartfelt stories. Also features bisexual characters, trans characters who become more prominent as the show goes on. I never know how to say this, but a small person.
Okay.
I don't know you feel free to let me know what the proper terminology is in a nice way, please. And interracial, and then to my great surprise, a lead deaf character. Nice. And they make a point of making sure that a lot of shows and movies, when they show people doing sign language, they do a lot of like cut-ins, you know, close-ups and stuff. They make a point of showing their hands.
Good.
So you can actually see what. There were a lot of times where we're like using our hands to cover up the subtitles, so we're trying to figure out, because we're learning sign language and trying to like see, oh, this is how you say this.
Yeah.
And I really appreciated the show for, like, you know, having a lead character who is actually a deaf woman, also in the LGBT community.
Oh, wow.
It was New Amsterdam, great show, highly recommend. I got a lot more TV recommendations, but we can talk about them another time.
Okay.
But New Amsterdam, watch that, folks.
Nice. Sweet.
You're gonna feel good about life.
Oh, thank goodness, because it was hard to feel good about life after watching this movie.
You know, like you want to like be some of these characters you see on TV. You want to be Max. the lead in the show. You want to be him. He's I try to be more like Max. I watched that show and was like, I'm gonna try and ask that question more often. When somebody's like, oh, I've had a really bad day, I'm like, how can I help? What can I do?
Yeah, I love that.
Sometimes people are like, you can't,
and sometimes you can't, and that's okay.
Yeah. The leaf blower's back. That's our cue.
Yay.
Okay, so let's wrap up this Braveheart thing. Yeah, good movie. Deserved a bunch of awards. Beautiful to look at. Music is excellent. And you should see it probably.
Yeah.
See it before you die. That's the whole point of this podcast now.
Yeah.
Watch this movie before you die.
Don't take it too seriously because most of it isn't true.
Yeah, just go enjoy the ride. That's all it is it's a ride at this point.
Yep.
So yeah, Alexis brought over the porg bucket. You can't see the porg. There's the porg right there. BB-8's on it as well. So the porg bucket is in effect. And we're just gonna. Okay, our next movie is Sounder.
Sounder.
I believe it's based on a book.
Oh, cool. Well, I've never heard of it.
I've heard of it only because I've seen, like, when I was like a kid, like, you the Scholastic book fairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you like, oh, there's this book. Sounder was always on there, and I remember it was like a picture of a beagle. It's like a blue book.
Yes.
And a picture of a beagle running. Or bounding toward you, I think.
Okay, now
And it had a little seal.
Yes.
It had a little seal on it.
Oh my gosh.
Not a or seal, but like a
like a gold seal.
Like a gold stamp. Yeah.
Well, cool. We're gonna watch Sounder.
Yeah. Sounder, hooray.
That'll be great.
All right. Until next time, everyone, bon cinema.